Very nice, Prabhu. Anybody wants to give a better try?
May I try? Hare Krishna.
Yeah, please go ahead. Hare Krishna. Yes,
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna. In our yesterday's Bhakti Vriksha class, Reena Mataji had said a very good point. She was saying, like, Krishna was favoring his devotee Bhishmacharya also, because he was showing his actual presence. Bhishma was facing Lord Krishna. He was able to see more than what Arjuna had seen. Arjuna was seeing Krishna from behind. But Krishna was gracing Bhishma by showing him actual his appearance. So that was like one thing which I really liked. So he
Nice
was
point.
not favoring Arjuna alone. He was favoring Bhishma more than Arjuna. Hare
Very
Krishna.
nice. Any other answer?
Reena Mataji ko jai. Hare Krishna.
So if you don't have an answer, I can share one pastime. So go ahead.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. No, either you should go ahead or I should go ahead. Who should go ahead?
You go ahead.
Please go ahead, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. The question is, when Arjuna and Bhishma Dev, both of them are there face to face, and we keep bringing the shloka, right? Krishna says that he will favor both, he will favor devotee against the asura. Now the issue here is both are devotees. So how do we explain this, right? So now it's very difficult for us, right? If we have a situation when two friends are caught up, and I'm sure we have gone through this situation, most of the time what I try to do, and I'm sure many of us will try to do, is try and escape from the place. Simple solution, because it becomes very difficult. Yes or no? But I do that. I don't know whether you have a better idea. So now Krishna is also, but Krishna has got solution for everything. Yeah. So as I said, coming back to the same shloka, ye tam mam prapadyante tam tateva bhajamyaham mana vartmanu vartante manusyam partha sarvashah. Now Arjuna is the devotee, agreed. Sakiras. Now Bhishma is also a devotee. Now that's another conflict. So whom will we favor? So Mataji was telling, all of you all gave different answers. So the actual storyline is, he was actually favoring both. As much as he got down from the chariot and ran towards Bhishma Dev to protect Arjuna, because he was very upset with Arjuna taking the chariot wheel on one side and Arjuna on the other side. Unlike us, right? If a situation like this happens, at least me, I would probably go behind and hide. I will be safe. But Arjuna does not care about himself, and he comes to protect the word of Krishna by holding him with full vigor and force, trying to hold him and push him to make sure that he doesn't lift the chariot wheel, because Krishna has taken a vow that he will not touch any weapon. Now, coming back to Bhishma Dev, is he not, okay, he's favoring Arjuna. There is no conflict on this. What happens to Bhishma? He's favoring Bhishma also. How? Because Bhishma had also taken a vow with Duryodhan. As you had said, he would kill the Pandavas the next day by preparing those 5 powerful weapons. And also the second extension of that vow is that he says that either he will kill them or he will make Krishna lift the weapon, right? So therefore, if Bhishma has to win, one of that has to come true. Obviously, Krishna is the Bhakta Vatsala, right? We read in the previous chapter, that is chapter 8 of Bhagavatam 1.8, first canto. He says very clearly that Krishna likes to be called himself as Bhakta Vatsala rather than a general moralist, right? Like a worldly moralist who just stood by his word. So Krishna does not mind losing his word to safeguard the interest and the promise of Bhishma. So Krishna actually failed in his own woe, so that not just to protect Arjuna, but also to keep up the woe of Bhishma Dev. So this is the actual thing which happened in the war field, and that is how Krishna is actually beautifully doing the balancing act between between the Arjuna and Bhishma Dev, who are his two pure devotees. Most often, many of us have this doubt, if two devotees pray to Krishna and if the thought is conflicting, what will Krishna do? And this, I think, more or less serves as an answer for most of us who had this query, at least I had. So I just thought I'll leave that note here. So he favored both. Who more, who less, I'm not going to debate. I think when you all go to Goloka, you can check with Krishna himself. But for now, I would like to just tell whatever I've heard and read, that he favors both. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. So, Mataji, coming back to your version, like you were telling, right? He was in the other mix side. For that, Krishna need not take the wheel, right? He can do anything, but he did do. So he did this on purpose to make sure that both of them do. succeeds because he wanted to protect both. However, the failure for Bhishma came for the reason which you told, Mataji, that he didn't want he didn't want Adharma to win, as Priyadarshini Mataji told, vice over virtue. I always keep missing this word.
Vice over virtue.
Virtue. So this
Virtue
is
or vice, other way around.
virtue or vice. Yeah, we
Virtue
swapped
or
it.
vice. Yeah.
Hare Krishna. So so this is the storyline. So anything else you all want to discuss? Otherwise, I am planning to go back to the PPT if the PPT is still live. Okay, now Brahmana, Vaishya, Kshatriya, and Sudra. So maybe you can tell. We've read this. Can you hear me? Because I see a lot of silence. Is it because my voice isn't clear or?
We can hear you loud and clear, Mother.
Okay, because too much of silence, I have a feeling either my net is bad or I'm
No,
putting
I
you
think
guys on
that's the
sleep
feeling.
because
We all
Can
feel.
you repeat the last question, Mataji? We didn't get that.
No, simple. I put it on the screen. What is the duty of a Brahmana? Duties of Brahmana. What are the duties of Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Sudra?
Brahmanas have to guide the society on the spiritual path.
Very nice.
Yeah. And
Kshatriya? Yeah, yes, Mataji, continue.
Kshatriyas have to keep protecting the, they cannot, they're in the protective mode.
Very nice.
Defense. They have to
Vaishya?
defend the society. Vaishyas have to take care of the animals, the cows and the animals, and see that there's enough produce, agricultural produce. And Shudras have to serve all of them.
And Sudra?
They have to serve all of them, Mataji. They have to serve all the communities.
Very beautiful. So
Hare
basically,
Krishna Balaji.
huh? Sorry?
Hare Krishna Balaji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, go ahead.
Yeah, so Brahmana has 6 duties. Yajana, Yajana, Patana, Patana, Dana, Pratigna.
Very nice. Explain, please.
And Yajana, Yajana means to Patana, Patana means to read and study the scriptures, teach. Yajana, Yajana means to do the I don't remember the exact translation, but this is what I remember this. And Dana
Austerities.
Pratigna means to give donation, to take donation and to give in return.
Very
I think
nice.
they don't give, I think they take, I feel.
They take donation and they give knowledge.
There is
And
a,
knowledge,
yeah,
yes. They give knowledge.
Educate the society like with all the spiritual knowledge.
correct.
And
Next.
Brahmana means Brahma Jananti Brahmana, like one who knows about the Lord. And Kshatriya is to protect the people. And like I heard it means that Kshatriya is Shatra ite traya, means to protect the people. And Vaishya, their main duty
Okay,
is
very nice.
Krishna
Protect.
Goraksha. That is to grow fields, to grow farm, and to protect the cows. And Shudras serve all the 3 classes, above classes. The 3 above Brahmana,
Okay.
Kshatriya, and Vaishya. Hare Krishna. No problems.
Very nice. So what is the conclusion of all these teachings and instructions by Bhishma Dev?
By following all these Varnashrama dharmas, there'll be harmony in society, Mataji. For
Yes.
harmony in society.
Okay, so basically he wants to bring in the harmony in the society. And
Mataji, to achieve the goal of
The
life,
entire
it is
population to ultimately progress in the spiritual life and to
nice. And Prabhu,
And
sorry.
Mataji, the 27th shloka clearly says at the end of the purport that it is by following all these, it becomes very clear and lucid to all the dharma, varnas and ashramas how to please Lord. You can please Lord easily. And you can please Lord by way of hearing, chanting and all those things. That is
Prabhu,
what
thank
this
you so much, Prabhu.
There is in 27th sloka end, purport end.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. I'm just worried that you should not strain your throat so much. If you feel convenient, you can type in the chat. There is chat box also. So see what's comfortable for you. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thanks.
Radhika Mataji, you have messaged that shloka, right? Which Lalita Mataji sang. Unfortunately, I think I could not record. But having said that, it is Radhika Ashtakam. If you Google, it will come up. Yeah. Whoever wants to give next week are totally fine. Next week, okay. Somebody, okay, attendance link. Mataji, you want to post the attendance link? Namita Mataji? Okay. No, so we saw this Krishna as the original Narayana. And now can anyone tell me the name of the 12 Mahajans?
But you have not answered the question you have asked Mataji.
No, I am not going to answer. I'm going to take answers.
What is the gist of all the varnas and ashramas and their duties? What is the gist you asked?
Yeah, so I asked you what is the purpose of this. So Bhishma Dev tells that these varnas, so we've already, not only, it's the same story which Bhishma told for us. And it's the same thing which is mentioned in our Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, all of that. So all these varnas are ultimately for meeting Lord, right? If you see Dharma swanishtita pumshan vishvaksheno kadashua notpadeyati ratam shramevai kevalam. So all these are for final destination, which is for going ahead with Krishna consciousness and to meet Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now coming back to the main question. So did Yudhishthira, I'm linking this, Prabhu, I'm answering that only. So finally, did Yudhishthira rule as per whatever Bhishma told, following the Varnas and Ashrama, and what was it called? What did he do? How was his kingdom?
Mataji, his kingdom was based on Varnashram only. And he followed Brahmacharya Ashram, Grihastha Ashram. Then he also took the other two later ashrams, Vanprastha and Sannyasa. And also his kingdom was purely based on the dharma and the teachings taught by Lord Krishna from time to time and as per the Vedic instructions. That's why he also did yagyas, multiple yagyas, including, that what Ashwamedh yagya. Yeah.
Yes, Ashwamedha Yagna, you're absolutely right, Prabhu. 3. And he did exactly principles. He followed all of that. It was his ruling was so good that they had also compared it with Rama, right? Lord's Ram's ruling was considered great. Yudhishthira was also considered that great. Now, coming back to the next part of it, that is why they said even the cows, the farms were wet because of the milk of the cows. So it was so wet. Now, coming to the conclusion, today whatever we are talking about talks about, a single king rule, right? King's son becomes king and all that, which in English we call it as autocracy, bureaucracy.
Monarchy, no?
Sorry?
Monarchy?
Monarchy, nepotism. Today we have new rule, Mataji. New English terms have come. Monarchy is your days. Current children use the word nepotism. My daughter uses the word that. So thank you so much, Mataji. So coming back, drifting today, we are all casting votes, right? We are talking about democracy, votes, government by the people, for the people, and what is the third one? I forgot actually. Civics. Someone help me.
Of the people.
Of the people. Thank you so much.
Of the people, for the people, by the people.
Yeah, so isn't that sounding better? And what is the difference between them, then, and now us?
Those kings were qualified, Mataji. Even though they were sons, they were qualified.
Okay, point taken. Even though, and now?
Now, even though they are just sons, they are not qualified. Look at all the sons of the leaders. They have no knowledge.
Yeah, so basically currently votes are given by the foolish people who are Sudras, who land up selecting another Sudra, because we can see this evidently from king earlier. So when there was a war, right, let's take Kurukshetra war and let's take both sides, whether it's the Pandava side or the Dhritarashtra side, that is Kuru's side. Who was there who was heading or leading leading the war? Who was leading the war?
Duryodhana was leading
the kings.
Kings, thank you so much. Duryodhana on the Kuru side, and obviously Pandavas on the Pandava side, and all the kings were leading the Lord. Today, where are the politicians if there are problems?
Mataji, let's get
They're
it right.
backstage.
This is
The
a
home, the
this
home
is a
ceremony.
this is a totally different society, Mataji. And then
They are
what
at
we
the
have
back.
They're backstage.
They are at the back.
see
Absolutely.
what
So they're at the back.
no what we have inherited today is not a Vedic system, but what we have got it imported from the Western side. And in the
Absolutely.
Western side, the society has been that around 16th or 15th or 16th century, kings stopped going on wars by themselves, and then it was handed over to uh, it was handed over to the specialized people, because kings as such don't get the training for the war, and that is the reason why they are not here. So it's a different society.
So
Let's
basically, bottom line very clearly is a question which is given here, not my question at the end. And I'm going by Srila Prabhupada's purport, which concludes the session because you asked about conclusion, specifically about the vote. So BV leaders are here. Probably they can also back up. And I think Priyadarshini Mataji is already ready there. So basically the caste, which is a monarch, is no more practiced here. And therefore fools start hiring fools in the form of votes. And they are always hidden behind the screens. They never come over in front to fight. Unlike those days where the kings used to be present personally, right? So that was the beauty of the whole system. Now, who were fighting, civilians or the people in the war? What was the case of the civilians in the war to these days?
today everyone fights, Mataji. There's hardly a difference between civilians and army.
Very
Look what
beautiful.
is happening in Gaza.
Who gave that answer?
35,000 people killed. So
Yeah, very beautiful. Today, everybody fights. But those days, civilians were kept far away and they had no such issues because they were protected. It was only the Kshatriyas who used to be in the war field, exceptional Brahmanas like our Dronacharya or Ashwatthama. But other than that, all of this was a different backstage situation. Rest of them were all protected. So there was no harm for the rest of the civilians through the war. Now, what about, how does Bhishma glorify Krishna? How does Bhishma glorify Krishna?
First and foremost, he glorifies him as Parthasarathi.
Okay.
Then secondly, his opulence. He says the supreme personality of Godhead.
Very nice.
Yeah, he has all expansions, but the absolute personality is Lord himself.
Superb. And anybody would like to add?
He confirms that this is the original supreme personality of the Godhead.
Yes. So that is what
And all the
Priyadashini said.
tribulations that he gives is only to draw us towards him. His tribulations are meant actually to make us improve and get back to him actually.
Very nice, Mataji. Now, we all know Yudhishthira is understood that I'm not the body, I'm the soul, right? Aham Brahmasmi. Or Yudhishthira had a doubt on that.
No.
When we ourselves know, he would surely know. But then when Bhishma passed away, how was Yudhishthira's feelings and reaction?
He is a Dharma Raja, so he cannot have any doubts.
Yeah, he's Dharma Raja. But how was he feeling? Was he very happy?
It was very bad. Feeling very sad, obviously.
Sorry, just 1 second. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Mataji, he was feeling sad. The reason is
You're
because
already there? But all of us are there, Prabhu. Entire class is there. Yeah, we are all still there. The moment you come, you just tell me in Zoom. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah, so sorry, Prabhu. Sorry, Mataji. Pran Chaitanya Prabhu was trying to log in. He had some problem. Yes.
See, he was feeling sad because even though he knows that he's not the soul and what is just a passing phase, he still has very good memories of his grandfather, and he misses all of that, and because of that he's feeling that.
So what was the relationship of the grandfather to the children, to all the Pandavas? How was he related to them?
He was very close. He was
As
guide.
Small children, they were
guide.
playing the lap of Vishnu.
I think Prabhu is bringing guide.
He's a friend, philosopher, and guide, Mataji.
Yeah, he was more like a friend, philosopher, guide, grandfather, father, literally all of that, and he
everything putting into it. And especially after the death of Pandu Maharaj.
Absolutely, Prabhu.
Okay.
And knowing the situation, and Kunti, he had taken her as a daughter-in-law, and he had a very, very close relationship. And obviously, Yudhishthira was lamenting not because Bhishma was dead, but more because of the fact that he lost the association of Bhishma Dev. What happened on the death of Bhishma Dev? What immediately happened? The moment he passed away, when the body left Bhishma Dev, what happened?
All became silent like the birds, the sky.
Next, what are the other reactions to it? One, next.
Conch shells came up. There
Yes.
was
Then?
And then the flowers from all
Very
the
nice.
great sages, from
Yes,
the
from sages and
sages,
Demigods.
devatas and
devatas and also. That's the same thing happening now, right? So there are a lot of dead bodies, they put a lot of flowers and take. Isn't that similar?
No,
How?
it's not a decoration, not for decoration.
Then?
these are physical flowers, Mataji.
Yeah.
Those are more spiritual by nature.
Yes, so that is a blessing. It doesn't happen, right? We have Akashvani speaking, Akashvani, because these are very spiritual. They are from devatas from the upper planetary systems. So that,
Mataji, Prabhuji has come.
sorry, Hare Krishna. Prabhu,
Yes.
thank you so much.
Sorry for the delay, Prabhuji's, Mataji's. Let's get started.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
then-
Krishna.
then
Prabhu, I
Krishna,
just
sir.
started recording. I didn't record from the beginning, so
Sure,
missed
sure.
but I just recorded like 20 minutes ago, so you can start, Prabhu.
Noted. Hare Krishna. 1 second. Are all of you able to view the screen?
Prabhu, you have to give spotlight. Yeah, now I can. Thanks, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji's, Mataji's.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. So last time we discussed about Bhishma's teachings to Yudhishthir Maharaj, specifically in terms of ruling the kingdom by dharma based on the occupational duties of the varnashram system of different varnas and different ashramas. And we also saw the conclusion given by Srila Prabhupada in the purport, how managing all these duties based on varnashram system. And Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport that this is meant to accelerate the development of the transcendental qualities, and following all these duties is not difficult. It is easily possible for anyone. So Varnashram Dharma is ultimately meant for gradual elevation of Krishna consciousness across people of different qualities and different types of activities and background. So then we come to Bhishma Dev basically quoting from various scriptures to establish Lord Krishna's position as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we'll start with this verse, text 28. And when we go to Bhishma Dev's prayers just before his departure, when he starts preparing for his departure, the purports by Srila Prabhupada are quite in-depth, so we should do proper justice without taking too much extra time to complete this chapter. So let's see how do we proceed. Meanwhile, any devotees have any questions, queries, you can ask. And those devotees who would like to recite can keep their hands raised so I can request one by one. Hare Krishna. So let's start with text 28 onwards. Let me see. Radhika Ratnanga Mataji, Hare Krishna, you can unmute Mataji. You want Devanagari also to recite? Radhika Ratnanga Mataji, you want to recite the verse? Your hand is raised. Dhanya Dhameshwari Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Na Prabhu.
Yes, Mataji.
Dharma artha kama mokshamsa sahopayan yatamune.
Allow us to follow you, Mataji.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, Prabhu. Dharma artha kama mokshamsa.
Dharma
Kama
mokshamscha
Sahopayan yatamune.
Sahopayan
yatamune
Naya nana kayene kay nana kayane tashesu.
Nanakyanitihaseshu
Varnayam asha tattvavid.
Varnayam asatatvavit. Thank you, Mataji. Translation.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. One second. Then he described the occupational duties of different orders and statuses of life, citing instances from history, for he was himself well acquainted with the truth.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we see Bhishma Dev, we discussed in our last discussion that although from his material birth point of view, he is considered as one of the Vasus. But in the subsequent verses, Bhagavatam explains how Bhishma Dev is an eternal associate of the Lord in the spiritual world. So only one Amsha of Bhishma Dev appeared in the form of one of the Ashtavasus and then showed through his own example how to dedicate one's whole life, how to surrender one's whole life to fulfill the mission of the Lord. And Prabhupada explains in this particular purport that how all these references from the scriptures, they should be understood and how they should not be referred to as. So in what mood we should refer to them and in what mood we should not refer to them. So they should be referred to as the factual historical facts. They are not concoctions. However, we cannot apply our material calculations in terms of chronological order to them. Like sometimes we find that there are questions just to satisfy our intellect in terms of specific chronological order and all. To get it answered, satisfied is good, just to convince our intelligence, not more than that. But beyond that, all these pastimes mentioned in various scriptures, specifically Lord's pastime, they are Nitya Leelas. Nitya Leelas means even as we are talking now, in some of the universe, within the cosmic manifestation, Lord Krishna's different pastimes, including this battlefield of Kurukshetra, including Bhishma throwing arrows on Lord Krishna and on Lord Arjuna. This pastime is definitely going on. Similarly, some other universe, Lord Krishna's childhood pastimes are going on, because all these are Lord's Nitya Leelas. So Lord and his pure devotees, they conclude pastimes in one particular universe just to conduct them, showcase them for attracting the conditioned souls in some different universe. So these pastimes from the scriptures, they should not be taken based on our material intelligence in a specific chronological order, because that may differ. And Srila Prabhupada further writes in the purport, such historical facts being instructive for ordinary men were assorted without chronological reference. Besides that, they happen on different planets, nay, in different universes, and thus the descriptions of the narrations is sometimes measured by 3 dimensions. We are simply concerned with the instructive lessons of such incidents, even though they are not in order by our limited range of understanding. Bhishmadev described such narrations before Maharaj Yudhishthir in reply to his different questions. So these narrations should be understood from the point of view of what is the conclusion, what is the lesson for all of us. Like last time we gave example of one such incident, that it is described that Shukadev Goswami is one of the saintly persons who has also assembled at the deathbed of Bhishmadev. But same Shukadev Goswami is mentioned as a 16-year-old much later, after the departure of Bhishmadev, after the battlefield of Kurukshetra, after the departure of Lord Krishna to the spiritual world. So how to reconcile the two? The point is, we cannot reconcile based on our material tiny intelligence, because these are eternal pastimes. To a degree, we can apply material intelligence to understand the physical part of it, but what is most important is what is the conclusion of that pastime for our own application in the spiritual life. And then we see in the subsequent verse, we won't recite all the verses, we'll only go through important verses from Bhishmadev's prayers. When Bhishmadev was describing the varnashram duties of different varnas and ashramas, then at that time the sun's course ran into northern hemisphere, Uttarayan. And Srila Prabhupada quotes in the purport reference from Bhagavad Gita 8.24, which is the chapter Attaining the Supreme, to explain how the great yogis, they take benefit of this particular setup of the constellation where the sun passes in the northern hemisphere. So I'll just read the translation of this verse 8.24. Those who know the Supreme Brahman attain that Supreme by passing away from the world during the influence of the fiery god. In the light, at an auspicious moment of the day, during the fortnight of the waxing moon, and during the 6 months when the sun travels in the north. So those who have really attained the yogic perfection, Srila Prabhupada explains, those yogis, they have got the choice of leaving their body at their chosen time. And typically they take benefit of all these constellations to be in proper place before leaving their body, so that the desired destination can be obtained. However, for Bhishmadev, was it all a prerequisite for him to go back home, back to Godhead? The answer is definitely no, as Srila Prabhupada also explains in the later part of the purports of the verses. But because he had Ichha Mrityu, he had the facility to have his departure exactly at the time of his choice. So he chose this particular time when the sun moved into the northern hemisphere. And Srila Prabhupada in the subsequent part of the purport explains how these advanced yogis, they have got such yogic power, such mystical powers, by which they can go to any part of the cosmic manifestation just based on their will in a very short span of time, which is not possible by any material means, by even thousands and millions of years, even if we travel by the speed of mind. Like we see in the case of Durvasa Muni, when Durvasa Muni was being chased by the Sudarshan Chakra of the Lord because of his offense towards Amrish Maharaj, Durvasa Muni could easily travel to places like Brahmaloka, Lord Shiva's abode Kailash, and he could even travel to Vaikuntha planet and meet Lord Vishnu himself. So these advanced yogis, they have these facilities. However, in the subsequent part of this particular chapter, Srila Prabhupada explains how a yogi's understanding of the Lord, it differs from a devotee's understanding, and how a devotee, without having to take the great trouble like a advanced yogi, still can attain the Lord very, very easily just by the process of devotional service. So we move to the next verse. Thereupon that man who spoke on different subjects with thousands of meanings, and who fought on thousands of battlefields and protected thousands of men, stopped speaking, and being completely freed from all bondage, withdrew his mind from everything else and fixed his wide open eyes upon the original personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, who stood before him four-handed, dressed in yellow garments that glittered and shined. So we see that one of the last wish in text 23-24 expressed by Bhishmadev to Lord Krishna in his brief prayers that time was, "My dear Lord, please have your this particular darshan available with me till the time of my departure." And Srila Prabhupada explains how Bhishmadev, out of his humility, he is showing as if that now I have the facility to take your darshan, so let me have your darshan to my heart's content, because after the departure, apparently Bhishmadev is not sure where he will be going to back to Godhead, but that is out of his humility. From Bhagavatam, we understand that he is one of the eternal associates of the Lord in the Vaikuntha planets. So there is no question of Bhishmadev going anywhere apart from the spiritual world. So now we will try going through specific portions of Srila Prabhupada's purport. Let me request some of the devotees to read. Gita Pradeep Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji.
The purport you want me to read?
Yes, Mataji.
In the momentous hour of leaving his material body, Bhishmadeva set the glorious example concerning the important function of the human form of life. The subject matter which attracts the dying man becomes the beginning of his next life. Therefore, if one is absorbed in thoughts of the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, he is sure to go back to the Godhead without any doubt. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So then continuing in the purport, Srila Prabhupada quotes the text from Bhagavad Gita, 8th chapter. What is the 8th chapter entitled as? What is the 8th chapter explaining about?
Attaining the Supreme.
Yes.
Leaving the body.
Yes, leaving the body, how to leave the body properly by remembering the Lord, how to attain the spiritual nature, spiritual world. So Srila Prabhupada explains this core set of verses from chapter 8. We won't go through all, you can go through at your leisure afterwards, explaining how a devotee prepares himself to remember the Lord at the time of his death, and what destiny such a devotee attains who is able to remember the Lord. This particular line is mentioned in italics in the purport. The subject matter which attracts the dying man becomes the beginning of his next life, and Bhishmadev knew this very, very well. So he is requesting the Lord to continue to appear before him till the time of his departure and leave the body in remembrance of the Lord. Gita Mataji, please proceed. Sri Bhishmadev.
Sri Bhishmadeva attained the perfection of quitting his body at will and was fortunate enough to have Lord Krishna, the object of his attention, personally present at the time of death. He therefore fixed his open eyes upon him. He wanted to see Sri Krishna for a long time out of his spontaneous love for him. Because he was a pure devotee, he had very little to do with the detailed performance of yogic principles. Simple Bhakti yoga is enough to bring about perfection.
Thank you, Mataji. So here we see that Bhishmadev, because of his position as a pure devotee, he was not really obligated to follow any of the details of the yogic principles. He was already above all that. But still, it was just his choice that he chose this particular setup for departing from this material world. And this is very interesting that Acharya's commentaries, they also give explanation why did Bhishmadev chose to depart from this material world if he had the darshan of the Lord. You might say that anyway everybody has to depart, but in Bhishma's case that was not the case. It was his moment of choice that he decided to depart, and we will come to the reason in subsequent verses. Yes, so now we will recite some of these.
Hare
Yes.
Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, P.S. Murthy Prabhuji.
I had two questions, Prabhu. I had the same question that why he saw Lord Krishna, then he could have left his body. That is question number one. And the other thing is, Prabhu, this Ichha Mrityu, I have not understood because, not understood in a different sense. We have been reading all through that ultimately the devotees, they aspire for without any
benediction,
without any chas, without any expectations. They expect to, serve the Lord. That is the pure devotee. And on this hand, we are talking of Chamrityu. This is not understood.
Okay, so first I'll go to your first question. Why did Bhishmadev desire to see the Lord at the end of his life? So, as
no, Prabhu, I said he saw the Lord. He could have left his body. He got the ultimate benediction. Why is waiting?
Why he is waiting? Okay. So, Prabhuji, in one particular instance, Lord Krishna fulfills many different purposes. Like in the case of Bhishmadev, he wanted Bhishmadev to guide Pandava, specifically Yudhishthir Maharaj, how to rule. Secondly, Lord Krishna also wanted Bhishmadev to set up an ideal example of how to depart from this material world, even for all of us, all common men to follow. This is one. Secondly, as you mentioned, he could have departed just after taking the darshan. Why did he wait? So that is his own sweet will, Prabhuji, what we can see. But there is nothing wrong, as we will see in the beautiful prayers that he offers before his departure. In fact, he completely withdraws his senses, and how he observes the beautiful form of the Lord and the significance of that darshan that Srimad Bhagavatam gives. So all of this is just to set an important example for all of us, Prabhuji, how to depart from this world. Okay, because for he himself, he need not have done any of these prerequisites to attain the supreme destination. But as a Mahajan, he is teaching through his own example. Is that all right, P.S. Murthy Prabhuji?
We have all through we have learned that the ultimate thing is to serve the Lord.
Yes. So Bhishmadev, yeah.
But Bhishmadev is, the Lord is there in front of him, and left his body, and still he is talking of Ichha Mrityu.
Yeah, so Ichha Mrityu question I'll come to, Prabhuji. Second is about Ichha Mrityu. How did Bhishma end up getting this particular benediction? He never strived for it, first of all. Seeing his supreme sacrifice just to fulfill the desire of his father, Maharaj Shantanu, to marry second time, it was the benediction given by his own father, seeing the sacrifice Bhishma had done for him. So it was not something that he strived or asked for any time. It was a benediction that was given to him just based on his exemplary qualities. Okay. Secondly, he just utilized that benediction in a most suitable manner, fitting his position as one of the topmost devotees of the Lord. So is that all right, P.S. Murthy Prabhuji?
No, the question is, Prabhu, what is there in it for him to utilize that? the God is there in front of him. What is there for him for Ikshamrityu still?
See,
He could have left his body immediately.
yeah, so to be honest, we have to be bit approaching this pastime, such great devotees in a different manner. Our aptitude while going through their lives should be what we can learn from them. Okay, we cannot be in a challenging mood, that they know what is best for their own service to Lord Krishna so that they can please Lord Krishna, and they also know what is good for our own benefit to perfect our life. So Bhishmadev definitely knows, and as we are yet to finish those verses, allow me to clear these verses from now until forward, how the significance Bhagavatam gives of the darshan that Bhishmadev took of the Lord, and how he remembered a very specific pastime of the Lord. What all was exchange between Lord Krishna and Bhishmadev just by Bhishmadev's loving glance. So we have to go through all this to understand Prabhuji. Otherwise, if we try to understand based on our own intelligence, we would only reach so far, not more. So,
Can I add a word, Prabhu?
Just 1 second, Prabhu. Murli, Prabhu, 1 second, please. If I remember correctly, Prabhu, in the stroke following 8.5, Antakale Chamameva, that I think 18th, 88.14, I mean, they talk of Uttarayana comes period, and I think if I'm recalling correctly, Prabhupada writes that Bhishma is waiting for Uttarayan. So my question is, my doubt is, what is the need for him to wait for all this and have Srishamrityu? And when the Lord is there in front of him.
Yeah, so to answer that question, there is no compulsion for Bhishmadev. Even if he would have left his body in Dakshinayan, still he would have attained perfection. It is just his own sweet will, nothing else. Okay, so it was his own decided setup when he wanted to depart, very simple. But we do understand, based on his qualification, Bhishmadev would have definitely attained perfection anytime, any place of his choice, wherever he would have left his body, no doubt about it. Okay, can we proceed, Prabhuji, because there are important
Yes,
verses.
Prabhuji, let's move ahead.
Yeah. So in this specific purport, we see Prabhupada explaining just based on the strength of the simple bhakti yoga, without having to follow all these nitty-gritties, what the yogis follow in order to leave the body to get the desired destination. A devotee can attain Krishna just based on the strength of bhakti yoga itself. And this is an important verse next as well. And some of these points that we are going to discuss, Prabhuji's, Mataji's, accept, or what accept is not the right word, receive them with an open mind, and we can definitely have discussions, but I'll give you a few more examples. As in this verse itself, that next verse that we are going to read, we will see it is mentioned that how just by the darshan of the Lord, Bhishma was at once pure, he became pure of all inauspiciousness. Does it mean that he possessed inauspiciousness? Let's see as part of the discussion, but receive this with an open mind, without any prejudgment. So, Prema Priya, Jayashree Mataji, you want to recite?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji.
In proper meter.
Yeah. Vishuddhaya dharanaya hatashu
Vishuddhaya dharanaya hatashu
tadikshayaivasu gata yuddhashramah.
One second. Let me.
Tadikshayai.
Sorry, so that
Next one.
Sorry, Mother. Yes, please go ahead.
Vishuddhaya dharanaya hatashubhas.
Vishuddhaya dharanaya hatashubhas.
Tadikshayaivasu gata yuddhashramah.
तदीक्षयैवासु गता युद्धक्षमाः
Vivritta sarvendriya vritti vritti brahmas.
Nivritta
सर्वेन्द्रियवृत्तिविभ्रमः
तुष्टावजन्या विसृजाजनार्दनम्
तुष्टावजन्यं विसर्जनार्दनम्
Thank you, Mataji. Translation.
Yes, yeah. By pure meditation, looking at Lord Sri Krishna, he at once freed from all material inauspiciousness and was relieved of all bodily pains caused by the arrow wounds. Shall I continue, Prabhu?
Yeah, please read the comment.
Thus, all the external activities of his senses at once stopped, and he prayed transcendentally to the controller of all living beings while quitting his material body.
Thank you. So here it is mentioned, by pure meditation and after taking the darshan of the Lord, Bhishma was at once freed from all material inauspiciousness. So how do we understand this? Just yesterday here in the temple, we had a class by one of Srila Prabhupada's senior disciple, His Holiness Rompad Swami Maharaj. And Maharaj was mentioning about Prahlad Maharaj, that how Lord Krishna wanted him to clear both the results of the basically the auspicious results as well as inauspicious results, whatever were there, and nullify the Prahlad Maharaj's account completely before taking him back home, back to Godhead. So when we talk about pure devotees, it is very what you would say, premature to expect that there is no cleansing or there is no pre-step that Lord needs to take before taking them back home, back to Godhead. Pure devotees are always pure. There is no doubt about this. But the material nature is such that sometimes Lord desires that his devotee should go through a certain process of enjoyment or even ruling the kingdom, because Lord knows what is best for the devotee. So in case of Prahlad Maharaj, he specifically asked Prahlad Maharaj to rule the kingdom as the supreme leader of the Asuras, because he was born into the Asura family. But he specifically wanted Prahlad Maharaj to lead a very opulent life of enjoyment during that period, so that whatever are the pious credits that he had accumulated, they should get nullified. And similarly, Narsingadev also asked Prahlad Maharaj to perform certain austerities for his own purification, so that whatever inauspicious fruitive results may have accumulated, they will also get cleansed. So we should again consider it as the will of the Lord, where he wants to nullify the positive as well as inauspicious credits for a devotee before taking them back home, back to Godhead. Similarly, in the case of Bhishma, who is again one of the Mahajanas and pure eternal associates of the Lord, pure devotee like Prahlad Maharaj, here also it is mentioned, such a pure devotee was as well freed from all the material inauspiciousness, probably which is associated because of being present in this material world. But there is nothing short or nothing lacking in these devotees, that is for sure. And at the same time, because of the darshan of the Lord, Bhishma Dev was also relieved of all the bodily pains because of being pierced by many arrows. And then Bhishma Dev stopped all the activities of his external senses, and he basically, through his internal connection with the Lord, through taking the darshan of the Lord, he started offering transcendental prayers to Lord Krishna. And these are beautiful prayers, as we will see in the subsequent verses. But before moving forward, any devotees have any comments, concerns, objections on this specific mention of Bhishma being freed from material inauspiciousness? And the reference that I gave of Prahlad Maharaj, similar reference where Narsingadev specifically wants him to enjoy the kingdom for a given duration and also perform austerities to clear the inauspicious fruitive results. So even for a devotee, Krishna knows what all processes, steps they need to be taken through before taking them back home, back to Godhead. Any questions, comments, Prabhujis? Hare Krishna. All right. So, Reena Mataji noted on this particular comment that you made earlier for Bhishmadev wanting to see Pandavas in a very opulent manner as the rulers of the world. So that was also one of the reasons Bhagavatam mentions that Krishna wanted to fulfill. Hare Krishna. So coming back to this point of Lord clearing the auspicious and inauspicious, both type of fruitive results for a devotee before taking them back home, back to Godhead. So if no questions, comments, then we can proceed. Prema Priya Mataji, you still
Yes.
have your hand raised. You have any
Yes.
query?
Nothing, Prabhuji. Nothing.
Okay. Okay, let's proceed. All right. So now Bhishmadev's prayers, final prayers to the Lord before his departure, they stand. So how we can understand based on previous verse that Bhishmadev has withdrew his external senses completely, and now he's offering these prayers just before his departure, just through his loving glance towards the Lord. So we'll request few devotees. Lalita Vinodini Mataji, Hare Krishna. And Reena Mataji, you can keep your hand on.
I think
Sorry.
Reena Mataji, let Reena Mataji take up.
Okay. Okay,
Sir,
Mataji.
Mataji, you take Mataji, please. Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, please
Hare
take.
Krishna. All right. Reena Mataji,
Hare
you can
Krishna,
recite
thank you.
this. Yeah.
Shri Bhishma Uvacha.
Shri Bhishma
Bhishma
Uvacha.
Iti matirupakalpita vitrushna.
Iti
Iti mati
upakalpita
upakalpita
vitrushna.
vitrushna.
Bhagavati Satvata Pungave Vibhumi.
Bhagavati
Satvata
Satvata
Pungave
Pungave
Vibhumi.
Svasukham upagate kvachid vihartum.
Swasukham
Svasukham
upagate kvachid
vihartum.
Prakritim upeshu yad bhava pravaha.
Prakritim
upeyushi yad
bhava
bhava pravaha.
Thank you, Mataji, for reciting in such beautiful meter. Translation.
Translation, Bhishma Deva said, "Let me now invest my thinking, feeling and willing, which were so long engaged in different subjects and occupational duties in all-powerful Lord Shri Krishna." Hare Krishna.
You can read the complete translation, please.
He is always self-satisfied, but sometimes, being the leader of the devotees, he enjoys transcendental pleasure by descending to the material world, although from him only the material world is created.
Thank you, Mataji. So here, two words are significant in Bhishmadev's prayers. He is referring to Lord Krishna as Satvata Pungave. Satvata Pungave, that means he is the leader of Satvatas. And who are the Satvatas? The devotees. So this particular word, do we recollect? We had recently also seen in Kunti Devi's prayers, where she refers to Krishna as Satvata Pati. So Lord Krishna is the leader of the devotees who are typically considered as Satvata. Satvata means those, anybody recollects the exact word-to-word translation of Satvatas? Those who are in Sattva? So basically, Lord Krishna is referred to as the leader of such personalities, leader of the devotees. And Vibhumni, Vibhu means the opulence. We see Vibhuti Yoga, which means different opulences of Lord Krishna. So Vibhumni means that Supreme Lord who is the reservoir of all these great powers and all these opulences. To that Supreme Lord, Bhishmadev, he focused his thinking, the processes of thinking, feeling and willing to completely concentrate on the Lord. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains how Bhishmadev as a Kshatriya leader, he had so many different day-to-day affairs of the kingdom and in managing the kingdom, in guiding Dhritarashtra and all. Although he himself was never a king, but he always needed to, he as well as Vidura, always needed to give their good counsel and support for Dhritarashtra. Whether to take that guidance or not was left on Dhritarashtra, Duryodhan, but Bhishmadev and Vidura, they were always supportive for the well-being of everyone. So now, while the time of Bhishma Dev's departure is approaching, Bhishma Dev is withdrawing his mind and senses from all the other thoughts about his day-to-day duties and focusing them totally on Lord Krishna. Yes, and for the Satvata, here Bhagavatam mentions the meaning. Pure devotees of the Lord have no desire other than the service of the Lord, and therefore they are called Satvata. The Lord is chief among such Satvatas. Bhishmadev therefore had no other desire. Unless one is purified from all sorts of material desires, the Lord does not become one's leader. And as we can see from different examples of devotees, that at one particular time, the devotee has had one particular desire, Lord Krishna makes sure that that desire is fulfilled and the devotee has nullified both his auspicious positive as well as negative fruitive results and then is taken back home back to Godhead. So Krishna makes the fruitive bank account as 0 before he takes us back home back to Godhead. And if whatever desires we may have, like in case of Dhruva Maharaj, we see that initially he did desire kingdom, he was offended, hurt by the behavior of his mother. And when Lord Krishna appeared, Lord Vishnu appeared, he fulfilled both those desires, although Dhruva Maharaj was no more desiring them anymore after getting the darshan of the Lord. But Lord Krishna felt at one time, my dear Dhruva, you have desired this, so let it happen. In fact, Dhruva Maharaj never ever desired vengeance or revenge for his mother. But because his mother had offended, the stepmother, Suruchi, she anyway was meted out the punishment, as well as Dhruva's stepbrother, Uttam, he was also meted out the punishment because of that offense. So Krishna fulfills the desires even after a devotee has got purified, just to make sure that there are not even traces of any desires as well as the fruitive results. So unless one is completely purified from all sorts of material desires, the Lord does not become one's leader. Reena Mataji, want to read through this? It is confirmed.
It is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 10.10 by the Lord himself that he gives his instruction from within the heart of a pure devotee who is constantly engaged in the service of the Lord. Such instruction is given not for any material purpose, but only for going back home, back to Godhead. For the ordinary man who wants to lord it over the material nature, the Lord only sanctions and becomes a witness of activities, but he never gives the non-devotee instructions for the going back to Godhead. That is the difference in dealings by the Lord with different living beings, both the devotee and the non-devotee.
Thank you, Mataji. So here it is mentioned how Lord Krishna's reciprocation for a devotee is different than a karmi. So for a fruitive worker, Lord acts as in neutrality. He just sanctions the desires, whether the desires are positive or negative, and he facilitates the fulfillment and watches as the witness. But in case of a devotee, Lord Krishna takes special interest to guide them by giving them suitable intelligence by which a devotee can progress in his or her Krishna consciousness, by which the devotee can come to the Lord. Non-devotees never care to take any instruction from the Lord, and therefore the Lord is silent in their case. Although he witnesses all their activities and awards them the necessary results, good or bad. So for a non-devotee, for a fruitive worker, Krishna is neutral, but for a devotee, Krishna shows his special favor. Even if the devotee is lacking somewhere, Krishna will make sure that that part is fixed. And wherever the devotee is good, Krishna will give further intelligence, how he can come to the Supreme Lord. Yeah, we have next prayer by Bhishmadev, Lalita Vinodini Mataji. So 1 second. Give me 1 minute, Mataji. We'll show here. It's easier to follow. Yes.
Hare Krishna. Tribhuvana kamanam tamala varnam.
Tribhuvana kamanam
Kamanam
Varnam
Ravikara Gauravara Ambaram Dadane.
Ravikara
Gauravara
Ambaram
Dadane.
Bakuralaka Kulavritananabjam.
Vapuralakulavrtananabjam.
Vijaya Sakera Tirastumi Anavadya.
Vijaya Sakhera Tirasumi Anavadya.
Translation.
Yeah, translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Sri Krishna is the intimate friend of Arjuna. He has appeared on this earth in his transcendental body, which resembles the bluish color of the tamala tree. His body attracts everyone in the three planetary system, that is upper, middle, and lower. May his glittering yellow dress and his lotus face, covered with paintings of sandalwood pulp, be the object of my attraction. May I not deserve fruitive results.
Thank you, Mataji. So these are very, very exalted prayers of Bhishmadev. We should recite by heart and also meditate on this. So similar to the previous verse where we had mentioned two specific words used by Bhishmadev, Satvata Pungave and Vibhumni. In this particular verse, Bhishmadev uses one more important word to refer to Lord Krishna, Vijaya Sakhe. And Prabhupada explains in the purport the significance of this particular word. Vijaya Sakhe is being referred to for whom? Prabhuji's Mataji's?
Arjuna.
Arjuna. And Vijaya Sakhe, that means Arjuna is actually, sorry, Vijaya Sakhe is being referred to for Krishna. Arjuna is being referred to as Vijaya. So why Arjuna is being referred to as Vijaya? Because of only and only Arjuna's connection with Lord Krishna as his intimate friend, Arjuna came out victorious in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. And it is explained in Bhagavatam that Lord likes to be referred in relation to his devotees, just like Yashoda Nandan, Nanda Nandan, Radha Raman, that means the enchanter of Srimati Radharani, or one who is the son and who gives pleasure to Yashoda Mai, Yashoda Nandan. So like that, here Krishna is specifically being referred to by Bhishmadev as Vijaya Sakhe. That means the friend of one who is victorious, that is Arjuna. And Arjuna was victorious because of his connection with Krishna, and Krishna is being referred to based on his connection with his pure devotee. So this is how the reciprocation between the Lord and his pure devotee is always relishable for either of them. And Bhishmadev specifically, as it will also be explained in the subsequent purports, that he is very happy that Lord Krishna has shown his great favor. Not only has shown, has been showing his great favor to the Pandavas and specifically to Arjuna, as we will see based on some of the instances from the battlefield of Kurukshetra that are mentioned in the subsequent verses. So Bhishmadev was not really fighting against Arjuna in an inimical mood. He was fighting with Arjuna first, as we saw earlier, because that was the will of the Lord, to fulfill the will of the Lord for a specific purpose. And he was relishing how he could arrange the circumstances in such a way that Arjuna becomes completely helpless. And then he knew for sure that nothing will happen to Arjuna because Krishna is seated on the chariot. So Bhishmadev wanted to invoke that mood of love and protection by Lord Krishna towards Arjuna, and Lord Krishna to become very angry and upset on Bhishmadev for attacking Arjuna. So that is what the feeling of relish that Bhishmadev was having, seeing Krishna protect Arjuna. So it will come in more detail in the subsequent verses. But in this particular word, we see the significance, how Lord takes pleasure in being related to his devotees, in being addressed in that relation, and a devotee becomes glorious because of his connection with the Lord. So this is how the reciprocation is done. Bhishmadev takes this special opportunity to address the Lord as Vijaya Sakhe, friend of Arjuna, because the Lord is pleased when he is addressed conjointly with his devotees, who are related with him in different transcendental humors. While Krishna was the charioteer of Arjuna, sunrays glittered on the dress of the Lord, and the beautiful hue created by the reflection of such rays was never forgotten by Bhishmadev. As a great fighter, he was relishing the relation of Krishna in the chivalrous humor. So let's go to the slides for a moment because we have few points on this. Yes. So it is explained that Bhishma Dev, seeing the sun rays being reflected from the glittering dress of Lord Krishna, he remembered which particular form, Prabhuji's, Mataji's. What was the form Bhishma has been meditating on based on our discussion so far?
Parthasarathi.
Yes, that was the worshipable form of the Lord for Bhishma Dev, and he was meditating on Lord Krishna's form as Partha Sarathi, recollecting all the different moments from the battlefield of Kurukshetra and cherishing those moments. So this question is already answered. Then it is also explained. Okay, next verse we haven't yet gone through. Yeah, Lalita Vinodini Mataji, want to read through this part of the purport? You can go through from while Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu. His purport by Divine Srila Prabhupada is that while Krishna was the charioteer of Arjuna, sunrise glittered on the dress of the Lord, and the beautiful hue created by the reflection of such rays was never forgotten by Bhishma Deva. As a great fighter, he was relishing the relation of Krishna in the chivalrous humor. Should I continue with the
Yes. Continue with everything. Transcendental.
Transcendental relation with the Lord in any one of the different rasas, that humors, is relishable by the respective devotees in the highest ecstasy. Less intelligent mundaners who want to make a show of being transcendentally related with the Lord artificially jump at once to the relation of conjugal love, imitating the damsel of Brajadhama. Such a cheap relation with the Lord exhibits only the base mentality of the mundaner, because one who has relished conjugal humor with the Lord cannot be attached to worldly conjugal rasa, which is condemned even by mundane ethics.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. So here we see that all these devotees who are connected with the Lord and attached with the Lord in a particular mood, they like to relish their relationship with the Lord in that particular rasa. And like Srila Prabhupada gives the example that if we have cups or glasses of various sizes, and if all those cups are completely filled, then it doesn't matter whether the particular glass or a pot is a small or a large one. What is important is all those pots, all those glasses are completely filled. Like that, all these devotees who are dealing with Krishna, related to Krishna in a particular mellow, they are completely satisfied relishing that mellow. And specifically for Bhishma Dev, he had that mellow of dealing with the Lord as a Kshatriya warrior. And we will see in the subsequent slides that whether it is worship of the Lord or whether it is enjoying the mood of Virya Rasa, enjoying the mood of chivalry, it is only the devotee who are capable of giving Krishna the complete satisfaction, complete pleasure. So Bhishma specifically has been tasked by the Lord to give him that pleasure of fighting spirit as a warrior. And it is explained in the next verse how Bhishma was giving that pleasure to Lord Krishna. Rasarangini Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. One small doubt which I had is, of course, he wanted to see in the Parthasarathi, that I'm clear. But where I have a doubt is, Prabhu, why did then Krishna show the four-handed form in the first place, Prabhu? That is something which I didn't. He is anyway in two-handed form. Parthasarathi is also two-handed form. But then why does he show the four-handed form? So that is one thing which I could not understand. So that's why.
So that is also mentioned in this purport, this particular section, where it is mentioned that the destination of Bhishma or eternal residence is mentioned as which particular abode? Vaikuntha planet. So my limited understanding is that because Lord resides in that Vaikuntha planet in the four-handed form, that could be the reason. But I've not read the conclusion. Hare Krishna.
Okay, Prabhu. Sure, Prabhu. Because I got confused. First time, that is what I was thinking, Prabhu, because Vaikuntha is four-handed form. But what conflict I had is that Parthasarathi form is what he wanted.
Correct.
I got that's why. Otherwise, Thank
And all of us will be amazed to know the conclusion given by the acharyas of Bhishma living his body for a specific time because he wanted to associate with Krishna in the same pastime in some different universe where the Lord would be soon beginning that particular pastime. So that is the aspiration of a devotee. They want to keep giving pleasure to the Lord. If, my dear Lord, for your pleasure, I need to act in ABC manner, I will continue to do that. Whether people misunderstand, whatever, I don't bother about what I feel, what world feels, as long as you are happy. So let's go through this verse to see in what way Bhishma Dev get pleasure to Lord Krishna. Rasarangin, yeah.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Hare
Hare
Krishna Prabhu. What
Yes.
you just said, Hare Krishna Prabhu. What
Yes.
you just said answers my question also, Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you, P.S. Murthy Prabhuji. Rasarangini Mataji, want to recite?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Yudhuragarajo vidumra vishwak. Hare Krishna.
Yudhurajo vidumra vishwa.
Kachalulita shramavāri alankratasye.
Kachalulita shamavari alankritasye.
Mama nishita sharir vividyamana.
Mama nishita sharir vividyamana.
Vachi vilasat kavachestu Krishna Atma.
Vachi vilasat kavachestu Krishna Atma.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Translation.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Jai. On the battlefield where Sri Krishna attended Arjuna out of friendship, the flowing hair of the Lord Krishna turned ashen due to the dust raising by the hoofs of the horses. And because of his labor, beads of sweat wetted his face. All these decoration intensified by the wounds dealt by the sharp arrows were enjoyed by him. Let my mind thus go on to Sri Krishna.
Thank you, Manoj. All these decorations intensified by the wounds dealt by my sharp arrows. So this is recollection by Bhishma Dev, that how he was shooting sharp arrows not just on Arjuna, but everywhere, on the horses, on the chariot, and some of those also hit Lord Krishna, the transcendental body of Lord Krishna. And as Rasarangini Mataji was explaining before I started, that Krishna, although having transcendental body, he also shows blood whenever there is wound on the body of the Lord. Because of Bhishma's sharp arrows, there were wounds on the body of the Lord from where blood was oozing. And that particular injury, that particular wound, although it may seem very painful for us, it was actually being enjoyed by the Lord in the mood of chivalry, in the mood of Viryaras that Lord was engaging Bhishma with. And one more appearance of Lord Krishna, Bhishma is relishing, which is in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, there was so much of dust because of the horses' hooves, hitting the soil, that Krishna's hairs, they were, what is the word that is used? They turned into ashen due to the dust raised by the hoofs of the horses. And there were also sweat drops on the forehead of Lord Krishna, and Bhishma is relishing that particular sight. Now, one thing we know is that for an ordinary person, if our hairs are covered by the dust and if there is lot of sweating on our forehead, normally a person does not look beautiful unless and otherwise we really have that kind of connection or that kind of affinity for the person. So Bhishma Dev, because of his pure devotion and connection with the Lord, he is relishing that particular appearance of the Lord because of his love and devotion towards Krishna. The sweat drops on the forehead of Lord Krishna, what are they compared to? The beads of sweat wetted his face. They are compared to like pearls that decorate the a normal person's neck or a face. So similarly, these sweat beads were decorating the lotus face of Lord Krishna. And Bhishma is relishing this sight. Just give me a few more minutes, Prabhujis, before we conclude. So we'll cover a few more points.
Prabhu, one more doubt. Sorry, Prabhu. So actually, Arjuna is fighting and Bhishma is fighting with Arjuna. So technically, the war is between them, no, Prabhu. Is it right to hit the charioteer? Because here it shows intentionally. But is it allowed to hit the horse or the charioteer? I mean, I've just had a doubt on that as well, which is detouring, but still.
Actually, there is a famous English saying, what is that? In war and
Everything,
in what else?
everything is fair
Is
in
fair,
love and war.
love and war.
War and love.
Yes.
War
Okay,
and love.
Yes. So basically, the fighting was all out fight. It was not just so basically whatever it takes to subdue the opposite person, which would means subduing their horses, damaging their cart, the ratha, their
all the
chariot. Everything was done. Even in case of Karna as well, we see when the wheel was broken. So that means the chariot was also being attacked.
Sure. Got it.
Collateral damage, Prabhu.
A collateral damage, yes. And one more important point I had planned to mention, but Rasarangini Mataji just reminded me of that although Krishna was sitting as a charioteer, acting as a charioteer for Arjuna, who had the best view of Krishna, Prabhuji's Mataji's?
Bhishma had a message.
Bhishma had.
Yeah.
So even Arjuna, he himself could not relish the presence of Krishna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra as much as Bhishma Dev relished. And as we will also see from Prabhupada's purport, that Krishna arranged the specific duel between Arjuna and Bhishma. One of the reasons was to give Bhishma pleasure. So there are many reasons. Another reason we saw in the earlier verse for Lord Krishna to experience and relish the mood of chivalry. And another reason is also to give Bhishma Dev the pleasure by engaging him in that fight, so that Bhishma Dev could get the beautiful darshan of the Lord, which Bhishma Dev could relish. So let's go through some part of the purport. 1 second. Yeah. Rasarangini Mataji, you can start from the Lord.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. The Lord is the absolute form of eternity, bliss, and knowledge. As such, transcendental loving service to Lord is one of the 5 principal relationships, namely Shanta, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya. That is neutrality, servitorship, fraternity, paternal affection, and conjugal love. Ingraciously accepted by Lord when offered to the Lord in genuine love and affection. Hare Krishna.
Sri Bhishma Dev.
Bhishma Dev is a great devotee of the Lord in the relation of servitorship. Thus, this throwing of sharp arrow at the transcendental body of Krishna is as good as the worship of another devotee who throws soft roses upon him. It appears that Bhishma Dev is representing the actions he committed against the person of the Lord.
Repenting.
Sorry. Oh, repenting, sorry. It appears that Bhishma Dev is repenting the actions he committed against the person of the Lord. But factually, the Krishna's body was not at all pained due to his transcendental existence. His body is not matter. Both he himself and his body are complete spiritual identity. Spirit is never pierced, burnt, dried, moistured, etc.
Thank you. Thank you, Mataji. So this is a very important point, that what was the mood of Lord Krishna, what was the mood of Bhishma Dev, and what we can learn and understand in our own practical experience application from this. So here it is mentioned, Bhishma Dev, while recollecting those memories, feeling sad that he hurt Lord Krishna, causing so many wounds on the Lord's body by his throwing of the sharp arrows. But Krishna was deriving the pleasure, because Bhishma was specifically tasked by the Lord to give him the pleasure in this mood of chivalry, Viryaras. Bhishma Dev needed to do that. And Krishna felt the pleasure. And even Bhishma Dev, he relished the beautiful form of the Lord with his hair becoming ashen and wounds on the body of the Lord and sweat drops on Lord Krishna's forehead. However, we cannot take it for granted, the last part, that because Krishna's body is transcendental, he doesn't feel the pain like we all do. From devotee side, we are extremely careful to give comfort to the body of the Lord. I'll give you a specific example, what I mean, and not consider it that because Lord's body is transcendental, nothing will happen to him. So I've noted here something, 1 second. Oops. Yeah. Lord accepts the intent, mood of the devotee behind the action. Hence, one should be careful in any interaction with the Lord's deity or Lord's body while offering anything to the Lord to keep our mood proper. Say, for example, those of us who are at some point or other engaged in the physical service to the Lord, say, for example, like I have a service of Shayana, or they like putting the Lord to the rest, where we need to deal with the body of the Lord, take out the garlands carefully, take out the pins, the hair pins that are stuck to keep the garland stuck properly to the turban and all that. We have to be very, very careful. That means while taking out the pin, we should not inadvertently prick the pin or cause any discomfort to the Lord. We have to be extremely careful. If we are not careful, Prabhuji's, Mataji's, then it is like handling the fire. What happens if we are not careful handling the fire? What will happen?
It will burn.
We'll get burnt. Similarly, if we are not careful about dealing with the personal transcendental body of the Lord, rather than benefiting us in terms of our service, we can indirectly cause aparats. It will be detrimental for our spiritual advancement. So we have to be very, very careful dealing with the Lord. It is beneficial provided we do one particular thing, which is to keep our mood proper, that we take as much care as possible and our intents are proper. Our intent is not that I am decorating a statue. Then Prabhupada says Krishna will appear just like a statue. But for a person who approaches Krishna as the Satchidananda form of the Lord, I have got a opportunity to decorate the transcendental body of the Lord, then Krishna will reciprocate as the Supreme Lord. So we have to be very, very careful about our mood. Bhishmadev appreciated the all-merciful attitude of the Lord because he did not leave Arjun alone. And see, while Bhishma was shooting arrows at Arjuna and the charioteer Krishna and the chariot and the horses, what was his mood? His mood was how to invoke Krishna in his mood as a protector of the devotees. So he did not want to kill Arjuna for sure. Anyway, Bhishma Dev knew for sure that Arjuna will not die, whatever I do, because Krishna is present. But he wanted to create a situation just to invoke Lord's feeling of affection and protection towards Arjuna. Bhishmadev appreciated the all-merciful attitude of the Lord because he did not leave Arjun alone. Although he was disturbed by the sharpened arrows of Bhishmadev, nor was he reluctant to come before Bhishma's deathbed, even though he was ill-treated by him on the battlefield. Bhishma's repentance and the Lord's merciful attitude are both unique in this picture. So both sides are given. Neither did Krishna leave Arjuna as he was, as a sitting duck in front of Bhishma to come and kill him. He personally got into action and protected Arjuna. And it is also mentioned that he did not just protect Arjuna, he could have protected Arjuna even without taking a weapon, even without lifting the will. But Krishna specifically lifted the will for what purpose, Prabhuji's, Mataji's? What was the another purpose apart from protecting Arjuna?
Krishna's word. To keep up Krishna's word.
Because Krishna broke the vows of the Bhishma Pitama, now he wanted to break his own vows.
Yes, he wanted to make true the words of Bhishma that because Krishna has broken my vow, I will make Krishna break his vow. So that particular words of Bhishma Dev, to make them true, Krishna lifted the will, and just to give pleasure to Bhishma Dev, that look, I have protected Arjuna and at the same time, I have given you pleasure by fulfilling your desire of seeing me lift the weapon. Otherwise, Krishna was sufficiently always capable to protect Arjuna even without moving an inch. And Bhishma Dev is thinking that Krishna, despite my shooting arrows, sharp arrows at him and causing him wound and inconvenience and disturbance in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, he has been so kind that Lord still did not ignore me and has come all the way to give me his darshan. So neither did Krishna ignore Arjuna when Bhishma Dev was going full throttle in the battlefield, neither Krishna ignored Bhishma when Bhishma was on his deathbed. So Krishna is always merciful and attentive to the desires of his devotees. That is the conclusion. Bhishma's repentance and the Lord's merciful attitude are both unique in this picture. And in the subsequent part of the purport, Srila Prabhupada quotes by one of our great Vaishnava Acharyas, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, how the wounds caused by Bhishma's arrows on the transcendental body of Lord Krishna were ultimately meant for Lord Krishna's pleasure in Viryaras. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives the analogy just like a lover. So sometimes in the conjugal loving relationship between the lovers, there are Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur mentions the bite marks by the lover. But those bite marks are not out of enmity. That bite marks are because of the loving reciprocation between the lovers. Similarly, Bhishma's causing the wounds on the transcendental body of the Lord were ultimately giving pleasure to Lord Krishna and were not out of enmity. So we proceed. So I think, Prabhuji, we have already taken 20 extra minutes. I had planned few more verses, but my apology for starting late. Are there any questions, comments on this part? We will continue with these prayers and conclude the chapter in our next session. Hare Krishna. Let me just see the translation. Give me 1 minute. Yes. Can we cover one verse, Prabhuji's, Mataji's? Is it all right?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. So any devotee would like to recite this text, text 35. Okay, we request devotees who have not recited so far, Rohini Mataji, Adidev Gopesh Prabhu, Ananda Prada, Indulekha Mataji, and many other devotees. Anyone? Subbarao Prabhu. Let me see. Subbarao Prabhuji, yes. Hare Krishna. Let me show the text 35.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Prabhuji.
Sapadi Sakhi Vacho Nishamya Madhye
Sapati Sakhi Vacho Nishamya Madhye
Parayor Balayor Ratham Nivasye
Nija Parayor Balayoratam Niveshe
Sitavati Pura Sankayur Akshna
Sitavati Parasainikayur Akshna
Kritvati Pardhasakhe Ratir Mamatu
Ritavati Partha Sakherati Mamastu.
Translation.
In obedience to the command of his friend, Lord Sri Krishna entered the arena of the battlefield of Kurukshetra between the soldiers of Arjuna and Duryodhana, and while there he shortened the life spans of the opposite party by his merciful glance. This was done simply by his looking at the enemy. Let my mind be fixed upon that Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. So here, Bhishma Dev is specifically meditating on the Lord. Hare Krishna, 1 second. Radhika Mataji, just take care of the background sound.
Prabhu, I'm on it.
Okay. So Bhishmadev was recollecting that how Krishna responded to the command of Arjuna. What was Arjuna's command in the beginning? Prabhuji's, Mataji's? Yes, Ishwari Murari Priya Mataji, Jagadananda Prabhu.
Take the chariot in between the two armies.
Yes,
And
Senayor
observe.
Ubayor Madhye Ratha Sthapaya Achyuta. Take the chariot in between the two armies. So Krishna exactly followed that and brought the chariot in between the two armies for Arjuna to observe who all had assembled on the opposite side. And it is also mentioned in the scriptures, and here also Bhishmadev refers to it, that just by his glance towards the party of all the Kshatriyas fighting on the side of Kauravas, Krishna reduced their lifespan. But it is mentioned that his glance was merciful. So how do we understand that the glance was merciful? At the same time, he shortened their lifespan. Prabhupada explains in the purport how Krishna's dealings, either as a favor or even as a punishment, both result in the good for the person. So Prabhupada explains in the purport how the numerous soldiers, everyone on the Pandava side, on the Kaurava side, whoever died seeing the beautiful vision of Lord Krishna in front of them, all the Kshatriyas went back home, back to Godhead, who were killed in the presence of Lord Krishna. So that's why it is explained that Krishna's glance was merciful. It ultimately resulted in the good of those people. It was not like out of anger or hatred. This was done simply by his looking at the enemy. Let my mind be fixed upon that Lord Krishna. So Bhishmadev is meditating on that vision of the Lord. And we have same pastime also meditated upon by Uddhava as part of his remembrance of Lord Krishna after Krishna had departed from this world. So this is a very touching chapter 2 from Canto 3 of Srimad Bhagavatam, and the chapter is entitled Remembrance of Lord Krishna. Basically, Krishna has departed, and before departure, Krishna spoke Uddhav Gita to Uddhava. Maitreya Maharshi was present, and Krishna specifically wanted to see Vidura as well. But Vidura was on holy sites pilgrimage. So later on, Uddhava met Vidura, and this conversation happened. So we would need one devotee to read through this. Anyone would like to read through? Hare Krishna. Lalita Vinodini Mataji. Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. The Lord does no wrong in any circumstances. Text 35. He is absolute, all good at all times. Uddhava's fond remembrance of Lord Krishna after his departure. The great devotee Uddhava soon came back from the abode of the Lord to the human plane, and wiping his eyes, he awakened his reminiscence of the past and spoke to Vidura in a pleasing mood. Srimad Bhagavatam 3.2.6. Sri Uddhava said, "My dear Vidura, the son of the world, Lord Krishna, has set, and our house has now been swallowed by the great snake of time. What can I say to you about our welfare?" Srimad Bhagavatam 3.2.7.
Now we'll follow you, Mataji. Yes.
You want me to read the lower? Certainly.
Yeah, you can decide. We will follow you.
Okay, fine. Yeah. Tataiva chanye naralokaveera. Ya ahave Krishna mukaravindam.
Ya ahave Krishna mukaravindam.
Netrai pibanto nayanabhiramam.
Netrai pibanto nayanabhiramam.
Parthasrakutah padam apurasya.
Parthasrakutah padam apurasya.
Krishna. Certainly others who were fighters on the battlefield of Kurukshetra were purified by the onslaught of Arjuna's arrows And when seeing the lotus-like face of Krishna, so pleasing to the eyes, they achieved the abode of the Lord.
Thank you, ma'am. So I forgot to mention the text number. This is 3 to 20. Same flow of verses. Subsequently, this verse comes. So isn't this remembrance by Uddhava so intense that he is not able to basically control himself, remembering Lord constantly because Krishna has departed from this world? And in the first 6th verse, it is mentioned that wiping his eyes, he awakened his reminiscence of the past and spoke to Vidura in a pleasing mood. So Krishna had given a task with Uddhava, which was to pass his message to Vidura. And the first thing Uddhava mentioned is, my dear Vidura, where were you? Krishna specifically remembered you before his departure. And Vidura felt greatly saddened that Krishna wanted to see me, but I was not present somehow or other. And subsequently, Uddhava guides Vidura to Maitreya Maharshi so as not to cause the Vaishnava etiquette breach. That Maitreya was senior in terms of his age, experience. So Vidura should hear from him. And subsequently, Uddhava starts glorifying Lord Krishna. That how Lord Krishna, when he was present, how was Dwarka, how were the lives of Dwarka Vasis? And it is just like the soul leaves from the body becomes totally useless. So our lives of the Yadus have also become like that after the departure of Lord Krishna. And in one of those remembrances, Uddhava is also recollecting this particular pastime of Krishna being present on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. How just by his loving glance and giving his darshan to the dying Kshatriyas on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, everyone who faced death, they were liberated. They achieved the supreme abode of the Lord. And Uddhava is expressing his gratitude at the conclusion of these verses, that such person who was a constant companion, now he's left. So basically the life is of no meaning after his departure. So with this, we conclude for today, and we will proceed with Bhishma Dev's prayers in our next discussion, starting text 36, and then we will conclude this particular chapter. So
Prabhu, 12 slides are only sorry, Prabhu. 12 slides are only uploaded, Prabhu. Just thought I just checked that.
Yeah, sure. So some of these updates are from last night, early this morning. So I will replace the previous copy with this one, Mataji.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Hare Krishna. So thank you all very much, Prabhuji's, Mataji's. Vamcha kalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki Jai, Vaishnav Thakur ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.